Tonight on the All Kinds of Weather forecast, we're back with By the Numbers. Dustin Smith returns for week 4 of the college football season in his updated power rankings. We give you the updated top 25, the SEC power ranking. We predict the Florida Gators game against Mississippi State and some best bets for this weekend. This is the All Kinds of Weather forecast by the Numbers. And welcome into another episode of the All Kinds of Weather Forecast by the Numbers. I'm your host, Chris Yanes, alongside my co-host, Dustin Smith, here in the heart of Gator Nation. A Gator Nation wondering not when, or not if, but when Billy Napier will be relieved of his duties. But tonight we're going to talk about the numbers. We're going to get our minds off of all of that coaching talk, and we're going to get into an updated power ranking of the top 25, the SEC power ranking, how the Gators still stack up versus the rest in the conference, and of course preview some of the games this weekend. But before we get to all that, the All Kinds of Weather Forecast is proudly sponsored by 401k Generation, the wealth management company that helps you invest today for your future tomorrow. Their team of advisors is committed to providing guidance and education for your 401k plan and its participants. And they also offer a range of enrollment solutions tailored to meet the unique needs of your company's 401k plan. Whether it's savings for your child's college, investment advice, or even your retirement, 401k Generation's team of advisors makes getting to know you their top priority. Their advisors will tailor a path to assist you in navigating life's financial milestones and reaching your financial goals. 401k Generation, building stronger futures, one generation at a time. For more information, contact them at 866-998-5879 or visit their website at 401kgeneration.com. Shout out 401k Generation. Shout out Eddie Rojas. All right, Dustin, let's bring you in here. Let's talk a little bit of power rankings, get our minds off of the Florida Gators situation right now that's ensuing in Gainesville. So let us know, what do we have here for the updated top 25?
Yeah, Chris. And first off, I just want to say, go Gators. I know it's been a really tough time, but the future is bright. We got to get a new coach in, and we got to turn things around. But right now, I know most of y'all are college football fans in general, so we'll look at this top 25. We're going to start off at number one and work our way through it. Coming in at number one for the first time in our power rankings this year, we have Alabama. At number two, we have Georgia. 3, Ohio State. 4, Tennessee. 5, Texas. 6, Ole Miss. 7, Miami. 8, Oregon. 9, Notre Dame. 10, Missouri. 11, USC. 12, Penn State. 13, Louisville. 14, Clemson. 15, Texas A&M. 16, Oklahoma. 17, Auburn. 18, LSU. 19, Kansas State. 20, Arkansas. And then now going to 21 through 25, we have 21, Oklahoma State. 22, Utah. 23, UCF. 24, Kansas. And 25, falling from grace a ton, we have Michigan.
Well, Dustin, some things just do not change. Alabama finds themselves in the number one ranking again, even when the coach changes. Alabama still remains the same. Jalen Milroe has looked fantastic. Alabama has looked like an amazing team on the road against Wisconsin. Of course, they
Yeah.
have the SEC slate and a big showdown with Georgia coming up in not this weekend, but the following weekend. And so we could have a 1 versus 2 matchup in this power ranking if things remain the same or they interchange 1-2 with each other over the next week. So that would be an exciting matchup. And Tennessee, another SEC team, continues to rise in this ranking. That Florida will go to Knoxville in just a couple of short weeks in early October. That is something that will not probably go well for the Gators if things really don't change in a hurry. Ole Miss staying steady at 6. Miami continuing to rise another 5 spots here in this power ranking. Mario Cristobal seemingly has figured things out there. Of course, they've been playing some cupcakes. We'll see how they fare against that ACC conference schedule, if they get any resistance whatsoever. Notre Dame, a big rebound, of course. They had a tough loss at home to NIU, but then thrashed Purdue on the road, almost rebounding to where they originally were at number 7 before. Missouri, up into the top 10 now. So they are also proving to be a playoff contender, surviving a scare versus Boston College. Boston College, boy, they might be better than we would have thought. Louisville, we're working their way up too. Texas A&M, of course. If you want to rise in the power rankings, I think you just need to play the Florida Gators, and you'll do that. And Oklahoma State, a team coached by Mike Gundy, who's hung around that program for a very long time, cracks the top 25, going up 13 spots. And like you said, Michigan definitely not playing like the defending national champions anymore. Of course, those banners will always be there for them, but this is a different team with a different coaching staff now. And they certainly are feeling that as they struggled against Arkansas State. They will play USC, who's power ranked at 11 now in next week's matchup. So, look, top 25, lots of SEC teams in there. Of course, the Gators, once again, are not in there and probably will not be for the remainder of the season if things continue to go the way they have been. Why don't you explain some of those updates to the model and why the Gators may not be as low as some might think?
Understood. So, Chris, something that we do every year about this time is we move to another iteration of the model, which looks at some more of the advanced stats from the season thus far. So, across college football, usually week 3, 4, 5, the models can really begin to find trends in the data. Certainly, you have some outliers. Certainly, the Gators performed excellent against a FCS Stanford team, but certainly against Miami and A&M, the data points are a little bit different. So it's interesting to see how the model has performed thus far, and I look forward to seeing how it performs in this great week 4. But before we get to those games, we'll talk about them, Chris. Let's get through our SEC top 16. You ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right, let's look at number 16. And I find this actually really funny, but Kentucky has fallen down to number 16. But if you look at their specific power ranking, they're still 58 in the nation. So that doesn't mean they're bad. It just means some other teams look better. Now, also ironically, Vanderbilt 15 in the country, 15 in the SEC, 54 in the country. Going up, we have 14 Mississippi State, Florida's opponent this week. Then we have South Carolina at 13. 12 is the Florida Gators. 11 is Arkansas. 10 is LSU, who's fallen just a little bit. 9 Auburn, 8 Oklahoma, 7 Texas A&M, 6 Missouri, 5 Ole Miss, 4 Texas, 3 Tennessee, 2 Georgia, and coming in at number 1 in the SEC once again, first time this year. They were there several times last year. Number 1 Alabama.
Crazy. 4 of the top 5 in the country SEC opponents, 11 of the 16 SEC teams in the top 25. The SEC far and away continues to be the best conference in America. Curious, though, to see how Florida fares against Mississippi State and Kentucky. Obviously, 2 opponents Florida has, one on the road this weekend against the Bulldogs, and then one for homecoming against Kentucky in a couple of weeks in October. So certainly, if you're looking at a point in the season where maybe Florida can pick up some wins, those 2 games would be the ones, because right now, according to this power ranking, Florida does have a competitive advantage against them, at least at home against Kentucky for sure. I would be willing to wager, Dustin, and then Mississippi State is probably a toss-up on the road. Vegas, of course, has this as -6 Florida this weekend. All right, Dustin, what is the model saying about some other games across the country? And then we'll finish with Florida. Your model has done fantastic thus far this year. If you want to give the fans an idea of what its overall percentages are, or what it's been doing on a weekly basis against the money line, against spreads, so maybe they would be willing to trust this as a method to place some bets or gamble or do some college pick'ems like I like to do.
I don't have those numbers
I think
particularly
though that you did
prepared, so I'll
share
try
though
to
with
hear.
me, and there was last week the model had projected to get 71% of the games right, but that actually was able to predict 73% of the money line games correctly out of all FBS
Yeah.
games, which is astounding. So that if you were to just pick 73% of the games in college football last week with them, if you just bet every single game with the money line, what the model said, you would win 73% of the time, which is a pretty good rate to gamble right there, I would say, Dustin. If you put the same money down for all of those games evenly. But astounding work that the model has done thus far this year. So, with that said, what is the model saying
Yeah,
against
and,
some?
and Chris, the significance of that particular trend is the model isn't necessarily saying, hey, this team's definitely going to win, this team's definitely going to lose. It's giving a probability that each given outcome is going to happen. And so if you add up all the percentages of the teams the model projected to win, you would expect to be correct a total of 71% of the time, but the model actually picked the games correctly 73% of the time. So the fact that we're above the expected outcome, that's actually a really huge deal. It doesn't just mean that the model is picking the correct game, but it's picking the correct game more often than it's picking the wrong game, if that makes
Yeah, no, it
sense.
does. It definitely does. And we'll continue to put that out there on the In All Kinds of Weather Twitter handle once we have all that concrete data and results from week 3 and can update for the overall season, as we are tracking that this year and we want to give the fans an idea of how successful this is. So with that though, let's get to week 4 games. So what are the top matchups this weekend that the model is predicting?
Right. So I'm going to dive into 3 games very quickly, and then we'll give a quick preview of the Florida Mississippi State game and give that score as well. So, first off, USC Michigan on the show, exclusive to the show. We're actually going to give you the scores as well. USC Michigan, the model likes USC on the road to defeat a Michigan who is a Michigan team that is sort of flailing. Next, let's look at Utah at Oklahoma State. Utah, of course, in the Big 12 now. Utah is projected to actually be defeated by Oklahoma State, and it likes Oklahoma State by a score of 31-23. That is an 8-point victory. And the betting line actually likes Utah by 2. So that actually be taking Utah with the points. And then last but not least, let's pick Illinois at Nebraska. Nebraska is actually doing pretty well this season, and the model likes to pick them again. The model likes Nebraska by a score of 23-14. So I'm excited to see how the entire week plays out. A lot of big time matchups. And Chris, we have to talk about it. That Florida Mississippi State game. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
So very quickly, we have to get into what I'm looking for in the game. We just have to play defense. Really, Florida has to play defense. We've found ways to not play defense. Really, the first 3 games of the season, even against Samford. I know the score looked like the defense played pretty good, but let's be real, the defense was awful. So first off, with a quick key stat on the offensive side, I want to look. I want to see passing. I want to see at least 100 air yards in this game. I don't care who's quarterback. Certainly, we were hoping Lagway would show out a little more against Texas A&M. Neither quarterbacks really showcased what we think they could potentially be. But I think a lot of that had to do with the offensive line play against Mississippi State. Of course, this defense is not what we saw against A&M. Florida's going to have more opportunities. I want to see the quarterback throw for at least 100 air yards. And really, what that means is it's not just the ball going sideways and the running back or receiver runs for a certain yardage to get passing yards. This is the ball actually going through the air, caught by a receiver downfield. That's what I call air yards. I want to see 100 air yards or more. On the defensive side of the ball, we have to keep Mississippi State from getting more than 450 yards of total offense. I think that's a key stat. If Mississippi State gets bigger than that number, more than that number, then I would expect them to win. And a padlock stat that I'm going to go ahead and go with rushing yards. Whichever team runs the ball for more yards, that's going to be the team that wins. Florida runs the ball more than Mississippi State, the Gators win. Mississippi State runs the ball more than Florida, Florida wins. That's it. Game over. Speaking of game over, it's time, Chris, to get to our score. As you know, everybody's commented about it. The model really likes the home team, and there's certain nuances that play a part in that pick. It's not just a blanket. The home team gets a 7-point handicap. There's certain calculations that take place, but that's no surprise. Florida certainly falling from grace in the model. Florida is currently has a power ranking index of only 5.7. I think they were in the sevens last week, so they're continuing to fall. So even if their ranking went up, their index went down. And so the model, without further ado, let's get to that game matchup. The model likes Mississippi State to pull out the victory at home by a score of 27-24. Again, the model likes Mississippi State at home to win 27-24. And that is actually a bit different than what Vegas would pick. Vegas actually likes Florida in this matchup.
They do, and they also like the under, or the model likes the under in this game. So, it's hard to pick the Gators right now, Dustin. It really is, just given all the circumstances surrounding the program. And unfortunately, we may be in it for a much longer time until Napier is relieved of his
Yeah, Chris,
duties.
you're absolutely right. As you know, I disagreed with the model on X. I picked the Gators to lose by the score of 31-20, and certainly my brain did a little better job than the model. Why? Because the model, for as good as it is, it doesn't understand the likes of Billy Napier. It looks at the team, it looks at the advanced stats, and it makes some assumptions based on that. But moving forward, there's a Billy Napier rule, and whatever the model says, I'm literally going to subtract 10 from that. So if
Billy
the
Napier is
model's
worth
saying that Mississippi
-10.
State is going to lose by 3, my brain is saying my brain is saying Florida is going to lose by 13. And so we'll see that reflect in my prediction on Saturday. But yeah, Chris, it's going to be a long season, but the future is bright. We got to get Lane Kiffin in here and turn things around.
We'll see. Lane Kiffin, some odds just dropped today. He's the second highest odds to become Florida's next head coach at plus 500. Jamie Chadwell, the coach at Liberty, the highest odds at plus 400. I don't think Gator fans would be too
Okay.
excited about that one, but plenty of time to talk all about that. Billy Napier is still the head coach. We'll see how much longer we'll actually be saying that. We'll see if this Saturday is his final game as the Florida head coach. Well, Dustin, could not thank you enough. And if you all like this content, make sure you hit subscribe down below, leave a like button, leave a comment on your thoughts of Dustin's latest model update, and let us know if you're using it now to start placing some bets. Like he said, 73% win percentage against the money line last week. Don't miss out. Always check in with Dustin every Saturday as we release his top 10 games of the week. So from all of us here at the All Kinds of Weather Forecast, by the numbers, Chris Yanes, Dustin Smith, signing off from another great episode.